Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X, and today I would actually like to put out, I guess it's more like tonight when this goes up, it's kind of a later upload for me, but I would like to put out the list of Dark Broly that I would have taken to Connecticut. See, I was gonna go to Connecticut, but basically they kind of changed their phase that they were in for pandemic precautions, and so now indoor events are capped at 25 instead of the 75, and most of my friends didn't want to drive 8 hours for a 25-person tournament, and so it all kind of like fell apart like that. Also, my stupid self did not register until checking like 2 nights ago and realizing it was capped out because of this change. So instead of just sitting on my deck list, I want to put it out because lots of people like Dark Broly, and I love putting out Dark Broly content. So. Couple things here. Got to get the plugs out of the way. Facebook group, join it. It's in the description. You're gonna like it. On top of that, you've got Trifinity Customs. Made this mat. I'm definitely gonna have a video going over their prices, what they do, the different kind of mats they can make, because I love this thing, and it is so sick to see my logo on like some paraphernalia. It's just cool. You can see this metal leader here, Dark Broly and Paragus. You flip this bad boy over, it's textured artwork, great looking, I love it, and we're gonna be getting a lot more. I'm actually getting some in the mail right now, and that's courtesy of Spiral Maui GraphiX, a fellow Chris, and you're gonna love his stuff. If you haven't seen it already in the auction groups or the Facebook group, sometimes these cards go for like 80, 100 by the time people are done bidding on them. They are that Gucci. And so, yeah, when I say I'm getting some really crucial ones to get out on the channel, you're gonna want to stay tuned for that. I'm definitely gonna figure out a way to reward the viewers. I like rewarding my viewers, and I also like being able to put his work out there because more people need to see it. So there is that. Now, moving on to Broly decks. I am going to show you guys the list that I was like 98% sure was going to be my final main deck list for Connecticut. Last time I put a deck list on the channel, I believe it was Ballless Broly. Now, once the red came out and you know, certain decks, the format shifted away from kind of like the Go Tanks, I kind of felt like I could no longer play the Ballless. It just wasn't the move. I could get away with it a lot of the times beforehand, but definitely not. And also I feel like playing against blue, I liked it a lot more, but blue is not really as much of a factor in the format as it used to be. So let's hop right into it. You guys should know what these cards do. If you don't, there are plenty of videos I have showcasing it, plenty of videos that other people have. Shout outs to Bad Beats with Giancarlo, because he's putting out Dark Broly content pretty hard. And then you also have like Border City, like Armando. Like, I'm sure they're going to be putting up more content for Dark Broly as well. I mean, he definitely just took an invitational, PPG Invitational home for himself. So let's get into this. Because we were playing ball again, of course, 4 of Broly Savage Rush. He's energy efficient, he's a 1-drop play, and he can go into your Dark Brolys. That's enough you need to hear about. Then for this particular list, I'm comfortable with 2 Toa, Union of Magic and Science. Searches out the ball, you can pay a black to recur the ball, that's what she's good for, and she's extra combo power. Once you've awakened, of course. Dark Aura Deluge, I used to max this out at 4, but now that I'm not playing Ballless and I'm not so Demigra centric, which was a thing back then, but not so much now. The card hasn't fallen off, but it's definitely not as good in every matchup you could ram it in as it was before. So this recycles cards. You can play it and just, you know, pop something to grave to get something more valuable back. Also against all of the matches that stop you from swinging, the Violent Rays, the Big Amors, the Dormants, the Vegeta Unison of Furies, the Prospects, the Baby Hatches, this card will allow you to extend plays. Oh, you were gonna swing with that Ravager and then sack him with your leader swing and then bring him back? Can't do that anymore. However, you can play this, activate its ability, get a Demigra back, or anything back really, and play that Ravager that you sacrificed and then still get its effect. So this is a combo extender and recursion. Love it. We got 4 of the Tuck 1 Draw 2. If you guys haven't seen the video between Armando and I, the link will be in the description. And I think I'm actually going to put another link in the description. It's going to be the video that we put up next. So I would definitely check that out. But he was playing the normal black super combo. And I don't disagree with this, like 100%, because they both have their merits. He was saying the decks he was afraid of losing to the most, benefited him better to have a 0 10K. And I definitely agree with that. I personally like options. I like seeing more cards. So even though these guys both break even, the normal combo, you play it and then you draw one. This one, you play it, have to hold up. You play it, then have to tuck a card, then you draw two. Yeah, that definitely works. So actually, I just like seeing more cards, and so that's my preference. But you can definitely play either one, and they both have their merits. You got Gravy right here. Comboing with it changes up your graveyard count by 3, and that's a huge thing. That's half a Dark Broly. And in a lot of your matchups where you need to be the aggressor, how many Dark Brolys you can produce immediately it just shows, it puts you ahead in the game, okay? It just really does. Even the mirror, as complex as the mirror can be, watching your own graveyard and worrying about your combos, worrying about your sequencing, at the end of the day, all that boils down to, does your management allow you to produce more Dark Brolys than your opponent and swing with them? So a card like Gravy is wonderful because it changes that math. Also, in the decks that can play Floodgates against you, you play Gravy, you can swing with Gravy, he's 15k, he bullies the leader, and he recurs 2 cards. And then they have to make a choice. Do I remove this Gravy off the field, or do I put pressure on the leader? And if they have a card like that removes and then swings, they don't have to choose. But this card does what it does. It's a high profile card, and it's very, very strong. Now, I gotta give a shout out straight up to Bad Beats and Giancarlo, because I was not maining these. I was always siding these until I saw his theory on it and saw how it worked, and it's just not wrong. If you've played any TCGs before, whether it be Magic with their Pithing Needles and Slaughter games from when I used to play it, or it's Yu-Gi-Oh with their countless floodgates, like, you know, Royal Decrees, your Royal Oppressions, your freaking Vanity's Emptiness. Stopping your opponent from playing the game at the speed they are intended to play it is the easiest way to provide rooms of breath for yourself and to provide just completely unfair windows of aggression where they can't swing back at you, but you can swing at them full force. And this is exactly what Mechagabura does. You're able to play him and, with knowledge of the game, shut your opponent out for the next turn of most potent plays. And this allows you to hit them in a much more aggressive way, knowing you can't get cracked back as hard, knowing they can't defend themselves as hard, knowing they can't stack up against you as well. So yeah, enough said. And it searches the Dragon Ball. 2 Champa, you only need to see 1, but seeing 2 does have its merits. If you see too many of them in the game, they can clog up your hand. So I feel like 2 is the perfect number for me. 4, Demigra, because he's not as good as he used to be, but he still will ruin matchups where he is good. And so I do like him at 3, and there's also more things that are the reasons why he's being played. I mean, he's a 30k black card. He can still just destroy matchups. If you resolve 2 against a blue deck, you will just end their lives. He's still a very, very good card. One of the better cards that's been printed in the past year. But he's just like, he's not as windmilly as before. We're going to speed through the Brolys. You've got the 4 blockers. You've got 4 of what I feel is still is one of the best, well, pretty much the best Dark Broly in the set. Well, in the grouping. And you have the 4 SRs, okay? I feel like they need to be at 4 because consistency is consistency is consistency. When I flip my top 3, I could have 1 of each Broly, or 2 of one Broly and 1 of another, or I can mill a Demigra, a Toa, and I don't know, a Mira. And, you know, one of those is a grave that you could build to. You can combo, you can mill, and you can eventually get a good setup. Another one of those, you're still relying on what you have in hand or off the top of the deck, because those don't do anything in grave. So I feel like at 4, you need to have as many options because you need to be able to produce as many of these as possible. First toy of the new set. 4 of the Dark Broly Unbridled Destructions. Card is nasty. It does a lot of cool things. One of the things that I just like about it, 100% deflect in this deck. It sucks having every card in your deck vulnerable to God Sealing, and so it's great just to have one that's not. Second, its other effect, you rarely use it to remove 3 cards your opponent controls. You often force them to crit because through your SR removal and the rare removal of the grave, you can often force them into a position where they don't have the ability to remove from all 3 zones, and therefore they must take the crit. So there are things I'm going to talk about a little later with that. But he is a very, very good card. I have an entire video going into the depths of why this card I feel like is juicy, and I'm going to leave a link to that in the description as well. Mira, because you're going to remove a lot of cards in this deck, and basically he's going to be fat when he comes out. Like, there's no avoiding it. So when he does come out as fat as he is, he can really just bully your opponent. If they're at 1 life and you play this card, you automatically draw a negate for 1 energy. It's just how it is. He has deflect, so they can't God Sealing. He's going to draw a negate. It is how it is. He's just good. And then backed by Champa, he will close out any game that he's not negated in when he swings. Now, these are the rest of the proxy gang. These are supposed to be my heartfelt pleas, but they have not come in yet. It's been almost a month, but the USPS system is super, super wonky. Now, heartfelt plea, because he's on screen now, because post-edit me is clean. He is a red-yellow card. He's a 30k swinger, and basically when you activate the awakening skill, you can send a 25k or higher red battle card from the field to the grave, the drop zone, and then you can play him. That is this, guys. He's the enabler for this. And basically when that happens, he's going to force your opponent to either crit themselves or have you draw 2 cards. And this is going to set up some crazy situations later, which I'm going to get into. But he's a triple strike 30k. He closes out the game. Being a triple strike in a deck like this, which is mostly single strikes, is crazy. And the ability to punch him in your opponent's face when they've already been just kind of staving off so much aggression, even if he doesn't land, he's going to soften up the hand so hard that it's just not even going to be funny. So almost every time I resolve this in testing, he's just been game. And I love this card for so many reasons, because he's either going to put your opponent in Champa range, or he's going to give you the most savage awakening plus that this deck could ever dream of. Past that, you've got 3 power bursts. They recur cards, and we like recurring cards. And then we have 3 balls, because between drawing these, between the Toas searching them, and between Mechikabura searching them, I feel like we have enough of the balls. So the things I wanted to talk about that are definitely different for this one, because I want to keep this video on the shorter side, on the sweeter side. You know, I don't want to clog up with another 30-minute video for a deck that I talked about a gajillion times. The things I really like about this, when you have your leader, right? This card causes mind games, because normally your opponent would never God Sealing any of these Broly's. They just wouldn't. They would look at those and go, okay, what's the worst they can do? The only way these are getting God Sealing is if you are about to remove something that they desperately needed to keep on the field for game, or if you're going to swing for game with one of these, and they realize you can't produce another one, or they just believe you can't, or if this card was going to block their game-winning creature next turn, they have no way of removing it. So those are the only way these are getting God Sealing. But now you have different things, because you are at a point in the game where now any one of these and 2 open energy can mean this guy. And when that can be the case, your opponent could be looking at their 3 life like, okay, this is just a Dark Broly. But what if this Dark Broly comes down, removes something, swings, and they get put down to 3 life, and then you activate 2 energy, play this guy, and put them down to 2 life via effect deflect, and then untap. You are now sitting to where any swing that gets through with Champa is game. And so now your opponent may think a little harder about counterplays when it comes to these Broly's. And mind games with a deck that's used to being in so much control is a beautiful thing, guys. And on top of that, what's actually going to be able to happen now is you have more room to play these head games with somebody. You know, you could play a Broly and your opponent could go, can I worry about the drop? How many are in the grave? How many this? I'm gonna have to counterplay your Dark Broly. Cool. You now have 2 energy available to windmill this guy on the board, which would KO crush blue decks, but could never resolve against them. Now he's on the board. You've warped something, you've drawn a card, you're swinging, they might have to negate, and then they still have to drop a card to the warp. And all because of this guy being a looming threat, would they ever consider using a counterplay on something like this? So you have more options opened up because of this. The next thing I was going to talk about is the heartfelt turn, okay? There's multiple ways you can go into this, but let's say on turn 2, you played your Ravager for free. You could have balled him on turn 1, maybe, depending on if you're going first or second, or if you're going second. You could go into your turn 2 and maybe even be able to produce a natural one, depending on how your mills and your comboing has gone. But then on turn 2, you get your swing. Or if you're just trying to go in, if they don't have anything on board, you get your swing. Maybe swing at their leader or unison. It really depends on what you want to do. You get your draw, get another swing, cool. Pay your 2 energy, hit the crit, untap, swing again. That's still 3 different swings on turn 2, okay? And what that allows you to do next turn is go into here. You can use your leader's ability to see what you get off the top. You might have a gravy at your disposal that you might want to use, anything like that. And you can potentially play another Broly and be able to hit your turn as 1, 2 swings, swing with your leader, draw, and as long as you can see that heartfelt, awaken, revealing heartfelt, and of course against blue this is a little more difficult, but you put these 2 in the grave, and that changes your graveyard count by 2, not 1. You play heartfelt. Your opponent now has to decide to take a life or give you 2 cards. Lots of the time it's going to be those 2 cards because getting down to 3 or 2 is super dangerous. And now you're able to draw 2 with your leader's awakening, and then flip over. And at this point, you can probably produce another Broly swing because you've got your leader effect after this to put 3 more back on top of the 2 you just put in your grave. It's nasty. And whatever you would have comboed on top of that, a gravy, a super combo, plus a Champa. Sometimes I put the Champa in regardless, just because at this point, dropping them down to 2 or 1. If I drop them down to 1, if they went down to 3 or they were at 3 when I used the Broly, if I drop them down to 1, every swing I swing is lethal. And that makes it so that they have to keep negating. And that's just disgusting. Or you could be in a position where you're going into turn 3 and you pay your 2 energy to go into this. So turn 3 could look like swing, activate this guy, crit, swing, swing, same thing I did. Still, the heartfelt comes out. It's a massive play, whether you're burning somebody from 3 to 2, or worst case scenario, if your opponent has a terrible game. See, this is what I like about heartfelt. It closes out stuff. If your opponent has a terrible, terrible, terrible game, and this guy brings them down from 3 to 2, and then they have to decide, crap, either I'm in Champa range or I'm in everything range. They're still probably gonna give you the 2 cards. And if they don't, everything is lethal. It is just monstrous how much heartfelt will accelerate a game. And it is enabled by this new Dark Broly. So that's that. And then one of the last things I wanted to go over in the deck, I run a lot of cards where some people aren't really trying to max out on them, but I like maxing out on them. Cards that I am talking about are things like the 7-drop Broly. I max out on those. I don't mind maxing on things like Mechikabura. Sometimes people are like, okay, I only want to run 3 of them. I don't mind running 4 because you always want to be able to have access to Mechikabura. You never want to not see it. And that is already in itself a reason to 4 of it. It's also a 5k combo. This deck is great at comboing on its own self and leader when you're awakened. It's not great at comboing on its battle cards. And these 5Ks, even if you get extras, you can combo on your battle cards. Because sometimes your opponent can look at your field and go, okay, 2 30k swings. That's a super combo and 2 5Ks. I can maybe do that twice. But when you put them to 35Ks, they either need 2 super combos and then a 5K, or they need a super combo and 4 5Ks. Dog. Like, that is stupid. 25, yeah, 35, 40. Oh, sorry. 25, 30, 35, 40. Yeah, so they need 3. That's too much. And so changing up the math even slightly can really tip the scales. And so I don't mind having more 5Ks. I actually prefer having more 5Ks in the deck. And that's why I don't mind max out on cards like this, because they fit into the deck, they can be topped, they can recur cards, they can be flipped off the top, they can stun your opponent, but they can also become 5Ks. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is when it comes to sideboarding, I don't really like making my sideboard before a tournament starts. Like, I'll have my top contenders for the sideboard, and then past that, what I would like doing is I like talking to the people at the venue. I know quite a few high-level players. It's fun just to get their insight, see what they see on the field, and then I like to finalize my thing there. So what I'm gonna do here is show you guys the cards that were circling around my side deck. So first, Son Goku Fighting Spirit. Once again, shout outs to Bad Beats, Giancarlo. He put me onto this card, and it is actually a beating. Like, I mean, whether your opponent is using God Sealing, whether your opponent is using Dimensional Magic, Trunks Prospect, this is still gonna make them eat a card, and blue needs all that advantage. If they run out of advantage, they can't do anything. They don't operate from the grave like we do. So this card eats at their hand, and you can stack multiples, and it's got Deflect. Wonderful. And it's Self-Awakening. Wonderful. They can't stall you. Another card, SS3 Tag Team Son Gohan. This card is a blocker. It can come out for free just by using your leader mechanics, and against Red Broly, that's absolutely wonderful. You can block with one, have it go to the grave, swing, they can swing with something else. You can combo with like a super combo, pop one of the things off from field, play another one from your hand, have another blocker. This card goes well, and I like him at 3 because I feel like you need to see multiples of them in the same turn to really pop off. 1 is good, 2 is great to see in a turn. This card was filler when the deck first came out. I feel like he's baller right now, and that's SS4 Bardock Combat Instincts. Now this card is bad against most other decks, but against the mirror it's kind of funny because by the time you can use this card, you guys are probably close to being awakened. Now the deck can definitely combo against a lot of mid-level attacks, but to combo against a 30k, you need to literally pop 4 cards in hand if you're not using super combos or a combination between hand and field, because you need to get to 35. Now what this card will do is come down for 3 energy, hit your opponent for 2 out of the maybe 7 cards that may be in their hand mid-game. Because your strongest turn is your awakening turn, and then if their opponent doesn't die on that turn, you then start having to play a different game in Dark Broly. And when you come over and rip 2 cards out of their hand and then swing in their leader twice with the 30k, you are forcing them to expend so much. If they have negates, they have to go, because either those 30ks could be blocked or it could come with Champa if it's turn 4 or beyond. It's just a lot of work, and you can loop them, and this card really breaks the back out of the mirrors when you can safely resolve it. Fu, you're kind of playing the La La Land if you think you're getting to 6 energy with any of the decks that you would use Fu against, because he will break your spine in half. Well, they will break your spine in half. Like, if Omega Shenron goes first, they get to pop off the turn before you can use Fu. Absolutely not. If you're playing in Soul Striker, they'll probably put too much damage on you before a single Fu is gonna even do anything. Yeah. So he's there mainly because of his art, I'm not gonna lie. Now against the mirror, again, it's very, very complicated, but it's very, very simple. Produce more Brolys, because they can't take, just like other decks can't take 30k swings over and over again, your deck can't take 30k swings over and over again. So the more Brolys you can put on board, the more pressure you can provide, the better. That's where gravies come into play, because they shift the balance. That's where this card comes into play. I hear a lot of people trash talking it. That's fine. I'll just have to play the mirror with them a bunch of times. This card does so much work because it is able to, every turn, undo what they could be doing to you. Like, your Ravager gets a card away, you're making a bigger graveyard playing this card than they are. You're producing more Brolys, you're applying more pressure. Even if he only gets his effect off twice, he's still doing his job. If they start swinging on him instead of your leader, he's still doing the job. And if you ever play him for -4, kind of a not good play, because there's better things you can be doing with 4 energy in this deck. Almost all your plays are 2-drops. Yeah, it is what it is. Petrification, Armando said it himself. Slept on card. Protector of the Peace, or Protector of the People, kind of falling. It was better at the beginning of set 11 format than it is now, so he's kind of just the outlier. Max Power Kamehameha. It is a really, really good card because people be cheating out thick, dummy thick things. And then the last one I wanted to go over is Majin Buu Extermination, Human Extinction Attack. I'm sorry if those cards weren't in focus, I'm just gonna reel them out again. But Majin Buu's Human Extinction Attack, because this guy does exactly what you needed to do. He makes a graveyard out of absolutely nothing. And again, in a Dark Broly mirror match, being able to remove one of their targets and then make a graveyard of your own to pull past them, it's how you produce more Brolys, it's how you win the game. Against blue decks, making a better graveyard means more Brolys out faster, means more swings before they get all of their impenetrable guard online. it means more Broly's, more aggression, more game. Any deck that you need to speed under, this is good for. You can't outspeed Red Broly, so don't try. You need to be the mid-range control in that matchup. But this is a very good card. So yeah, Majin Buu's Extermination, Max Power Kamehameha, Protector of the People, Petrification, Broly Unison, Fu, SS4 Bardock, SS3 Sun Gohan, and then True Fighting Spirit. There's a couple more things, and maybe some things in my deck that I maybe put one more copy in, like the gravy. But these are the cards that I eye the most for the side deck, and I would change the numbers up depending on, or include them, or change the numbers up depending on what I see at the venue, what people are buzzing about the most. The last thing I wanted to say is that as of this set, this deck lives and dies off of its 2 energy. 2 energy is the thickest sweet spot. Most of your impactful plays, if not all of your impactful plays, start on 2 energy. And that is something you have to kind of remember when you want to kind of push for crit and damage, when you want to go for removal and draw, when you want to stun your opponent. 2 energy is now the sweetest spot, which makes 3 energy normally your biggest powered play, because you can play one of your best plays and then still have an energy to do a supplementary play or have a little bit of defense. So it is what it is. But that is the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, we are officially on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you like the content, think about hitting that subscribe button, the notification bell. Once again, shout out to everyone who's coming together for the Dark Broly community to make things like this possible, this network of videos. Hashtag Xeno Harambe, D-Bro Gang, stand strong. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content, and thanks for watching.